Hello, kindergartners. We are almost done. We only have a couple weeks left. This week, our theme is how can things in nature be used to make new things? And so we have a story that talks about how something that is in nature can be changed and make something new. So I hope you enjoy our story, and afterwards, we'll talk just a little bit about it. Our story is called Bread Comes to Life, a garden of wheat and a loaf to eat. And it is written by George Levison. The photographs are done by Shaw Thaler. This is an informational story. Informational text gives true, real information about people and things. And this one is an informational text about bread. I bet lots of you eat bread at home. I know I do. I love bread. Um, the way we can tell from the cover that this is an informational text, or probably an informational text, is their photographs are how they do their illustrations. It's real, true photographs. So this is a slice of yummy bread, and in the background, it might be kind of hard for you to see, but this is wheat, and wheat grows in a field kind of like hay or corn, and I bet you we're going to learn a lot more about wheat in our story. Bread comes to life. Bread is the food we eat every day. So many kinds, so many ways. So here's some, it looks almost like a French bread. Here's a loaf of bread. Here's like some rolls or maybe bagels. White bread, black bread, small bread, tall bread, thin bread, twin bread, dinner rolls, bread with holes, hard, day-old, tough bread, soft, squishy, fluff bread. What kind of adjectives or describing words did you hear that describe the bread? You're right. It said white bread. It told us about the color of the bread. Black bread told us about the color. Small bread tells us about the size. Tall bread tells us about the size. Thin bread tells about the size. Twin bread, these ones look like, oh, twin bread. Their bread's the same. Dinner rolls, bread with holes. This bread has holes in it. So it talks about holes. So it's describing words that talk about the bread. This one says soft and squishy bread. This is what the bread that I usually buy at like Walmart or Atkins would look like. It's so squishy. You have to be careful when you put it in a bag or you're going to smush it. Bread is toast. Bread is crumbs. Bread is pizza. Bread is buns. How is bread made? Where is it from? Do you know how bread is made? I wonder if we read if we'll find out. This baker makes his bread from scratch by sowing wheat in his backyard patch. Soon the seeds Soon these seeds send down roots and sprout into shoots of bright green grass. I read that the baker makes his bread from scratch. I'm going to pay close attention to the steps he uses to make bread. It says first, he plants the seeds and they grow. So here he is. This is a bunch of soil around him. It looks like he has two little spots he can stand on so he doesn't step on the soil. And he throws the seeds out just like this all around the soil and gives it some water, and then the roots start coming down and the shoots start growing up, and it says that wheat looks like grass when it starts growing. The days pass and that grass grows into sturdy blades, tall and straight, finely made, with budding heads and bristly hairs, gently waving in the air. I think the seeds that the baker planted have grown into tall plants. And it said budding heads. Each of these little pieces that kind of look like small pieces of corn is a head. And there is wheat inside of each of these pieces. And then it said with bristly hair, these long pieces that come off are the hairs. When the crop is ripe and old, the tops are bowed and streaked with gold, and every head of wheat contains many tiny finished grains. You know what? I think Mrs. Hoskins was a little wrong. This whole piece is called a head, and inside the head, all those little pieces have the wheat in it. So when the wheat is finished growing, it's ready to be picked. So when it's ripe, it's not green anymore. It's this golden color and kind of brittle, which means it's kind of pokey. But then all of those grains are ready to come out. All of those seeds. Time to cut the golden field, gather up the backyard yield, stack up piles of sun-dried stalks, rub them in a threshing box. It's the simple old-time miller's craft of separating wheat from chaff. So what is the baker doing on this page? On this page, it showed that he picked the wheat and he's laying it down very carefully. And then on this piece, it said a threshing box. So it's hard to tell, but there's a box right here and he's laying some of the wheat inside and he has this tool that he scrapes over the threshing, over the wheat, over and over and over, and then it kind of breaks it apart and all of the wheat seeds come out. What's left are seeds, a hefty load, many times the number sowed, and each new grain of harvest wheat looks just like a loaf to eat. So if you look really closely at the wheat seed, it kind of looks like a loaf of bread. But this little seed is what was planted into the ground, and each plant comes with lots and lots of more seeds so that you can use it for wheat to make things. And let's see, I wonder if our story is going to tell us what they can make. Now is the hour to grind those grains into whole wheat flour. So this is a grinder, and he put up top is the seeds that look just like they came from the field, and he has a crank that turns and turns and turns, and something in the inside smushes it, and out comes a powder that looks just like the flour you would buy at the store. What does your family use flour for that they buy at the store? I wonder if we're going to learn about what we can use flour for. With simple tools and easy rules, it's on with the show to make up some dough and bring fresh bread to life. Ooh, I see lots of tools in that picture. Yeast, honey, water, flour, salt, oil, and muscle power. So the flour was made from the wheat, and then you add water and honey, and then yeast. Yeast helps it so it gets thick, and the dough will rise. It'll get bigger. And then it says it adds salt and oil and muscle power. And the muscle power, he has a spoon and he's stirring and stirring and stirring and stirring and stirring. Dump it, thump it, dust it, knead it, squash it, stretch it, and toss it. So he dumped the whole thing onto the table, and then he thumps it with his hand and dusts it with some more flour, and then he kneads it. You get it all blended together. Then he squishes it and stretches it and tosses it in the air. And he sets it aside to rest and rise. It grows and grows to twice its size. So you see this bowl and how it's kind of overflowing? Punch it down, give it some shape, let it rise again, and put it into bake. So he punched it down and let it rise again, and he put it inside a bread pan, and it looks like he's putting it in the oven. Slice it fresh, it's better than cake. So this is the finished product. So he's using a knife to slice a piece of bread. Here's a slice. It might be hard to see, but I can see steam coming off of it because it's still warm from the oven. Whatever the shape it finally takes, wherever the place it finally bakes, every day we are blessed with a mountain of bread. It's the staff of life. May all be fed. I'm not sure what page 31 is saying, so I'm going to reread it. The photograph shows a big pile of bread. It's the staff of life. May all be fed. Oh, this means that bread is something people eat to live. Oh, I see now. The page is saying that bread is important to feed people. A mountain of bread is good because it feeds many people. All right, guys, that was a really great story that told us all about how to make bread. Let's see if we can remember the steps to making the bread. Tell someone next to you first. Okay, let's try it together. So first, the baker planted the seeds. Next, it grew and it was all done. So he had to pick it and then he had to grind it. And he grinded that wheat to get um, flour, which we can buy flour at the store, but he was showing us how to make flour from scratch. But so then he grinds it and he has his flour. And then after he has his flour, he puts all the other ingredients in the bowl and mixes and mixes and mixes and makes his dough. Some of your families might have like cookie dough. Some of you might make bread and have bread dough, cake dough, and pizza dough. That's my favorite. And then after he has the dough, he puts it in the oven and he makes the bread. And when the bread is all done, then he slices it and eats it. Wow. So the baker took something from nature, something from outside that grows outside, wheat, and he completely changed it into something new. He made bread. Whoa, that is so cool. All right, guys, I want you to have a fabulous week. You're going to be working hard on reading activities and math activities and writing activities. And then I want you to send Mrs. Hoskins pictures or videos so I can help you and see how you're doing. Have a great week, guys. Thanks for coming. Bye.